Today was the big day. Apple announced a bunch of stuff. Let's talk. Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. And today, Apple had a launch event for a bunch of stuff. Services. Services is what they had. I guess we got our product updates out of the way last week so that we could get services today. Just to get off on the right foot here, one of the downsides here is that none of the services that Apple announced today, well, not none of, but most of the services Apple announced today are not available today, nor will they be available until something like, with some stuff in May, some stuff in the fall. So there's a little bit of wait time to get these services going. But what are these services? Well, first we talked about Apple News and how Apple News is the number one news app in the whole world. Everything that Apple does is the number one thing that it is in the world. So they say every time. But the big announcement today was that Apple News is now going to include magazines, all your favorite magazines, with live covers and all kinds of different stuff. They're totally designed to work with the iPhone and the iPad so that you can read the magazines that you love without having to pay subscriptions to all of them. Now, this is kind of a cool idea, to tell you the truth. I've worked in journalism for a long time. I've worked in publishing for a long time. I've done a bunch of different stuff in that world, and I do know from my own experience working at a small newspaper that the print medium is dying, if not dead, and that to me is a sad thing. What Apple is doing here by bringing magazines onto this platform is allowing for these magazines, whether it's the New Yorker or Sports Illustrated, Rolling Stone, whatever, there are hundreds of magazines available, so you're bringing them all onto one platform into the hands of the consumers in a way that I think magazines are probably suffering from at this point. It wouldn't be any good if you had to pick a few magazines and subscribe to them individually. So what Apple has done is introduced Apple News Plus. Now, the plus thing is going to become a theme here. Apple News Plus is an all-encompassing, you get every magazine and a couple of different newspapers, LA Times and Wall Street Journal. You get all that stuff for $9.99 a month, which you can share with your whole family. Oh, and the first month of Apple News Plus is free, so that you can have 30 days to forget that you signed up for that and then start paying for it. And you'll be like, where'd that $10 go? Anyway, next up, they went with Apple Pay. Apple Pay will continue to go on just like it was, but what they announced, the big new thing that they announced was the Apple Card. Now, the Apple Card is backed by Goldman Sachs as a bank and through the MasterCard service. So it'll work just like a credit card in many ways, but then you'll also have it inside of your device. And inside of your device, you can use it instead of your bank card or anything else to pay for stuff. There was not a ton of detail other than the fact that the physical Apple credit card will be made out of titanium and have your name etched into it. How will it work in execution? I don't know. And they didn't give us any details, so that's kind of frustrating. And when you go to the Apple website, it says, notify me. The next thing they moved on to was something that I thought was really, really cool. I'm not a big mobile game player, but part of that is a lot of the games that exist on the App Store are, full price games that you get and you download and you play them on your machine. And with mobile games more than any other thing, I'd like to try it out and see what the experience is like before I really sign on and put the money down. Apple has a solution. They want to bring new and exciting stuff to the mobile gaming platform, and they want to do it in such a way so that everybody can try these things out and everybody has an opportunity. So Apple is introducing a new subscription service for games exclusively on the App Store. It's going to be called Apple Arcade, and it will have its own tab in the App Store. And from what I understand, there'll be 100+ games that will be available for the arcade subscription. You can go and try them out. Not only games that have been there before and then maybe you've played, but also new games that are being developed. Again, I'm not really a big mobile gamer, but maybe this subscription service will be something that I'll be willing to try out. This is also eligible for family sharing, so one subscription gets your whole family involved. One thing that I can say is They don't have a price for it yet, and it will also be released in fall 2019. So whenever fall 2019 happens, I imagine before the holiday season. Then they moved on to Apple TV, and they had a couple of different things to talk about in terms of Apple TV. Now, they didn't talk about Apple TV, the Apple TV 4K, like the box, directly. They didn't talk about it directly. What they talked about first was the Apple TV app, which has now become sort of an aggregator of a bunch of different services. Like even right now, I use it because I have Amazon Prime and I have HBO within my subscriptions in Amazon Prime. You can get movies from Apple, you can TV shows from Apple, etc., etc. But the app is going to go further than that. It's going to allow you to integrate your cable if you pay for cable. They only mentioned digital streaming, so with that Spectrum, DirecTV, and another one that I'd never heard of. So you can integrate that into the Apple TV app. Gives you the opportunity to only pay for the channels that you want. So if you want to go through Apple to pay HBO or whatever, you can do that. I haven't yet seen what it really looks like, how it really works with the new stuff added on. A couple of big questions that I have. I mean, one thing that I use YouTube TV for is to get my sports on. And there was no mention of whether or not YouTube or YouTube TV would be included in this Apple TV app, or if you'd have to use the separate app, which is what they're trying to eliminate by having this Apple TV app. I guess you can integrate Hulu and some other subscription services, but Netflix was not mentioned, and I've heard that Netflix is not going to be involved in this whatsoever unless you get everything entirely integrated into that app, and the Apple TV experience all flows through that app. It's going to be a little half-baked. So I'm anxious to see how that works out once they start rolling it out. It's going to be available in May, which is not that far away, so I guess that's good. They're also for the first time releasing the Apple TV app on the Mac platform in the fall. So you'll be able to watch all your favorite stuff through the app on your Mac devices. So that'll be kind of cool. But they weren't done talking about TV. Now, there was a lot of speculation about what this would all look like. They introduced what they're calling Apple TV Plus, and that too is another subscription service. I think a lot of people were thinking that Apple was going to, have their own subscription service that would pull in stuff from all over the place, like say a Netflix or a Hulu does. What it sounds like is Apple's TV Plus service is just going to be original content from Apple. Steven Spielberg is bringing out amazing stories, sort of inspired by the magazine Amazing Stories from years gone by, which I guess will have a sci-fi bent to it. So that has potential. I mean, Steven Spielberg doesn't typically suck. There's going to be a new show with Jason Momoa that's going to be all about like way in the future. Some kind of virus killed most of humanity, and then everybody who survived was blind. It sounded intriguing, but there wasn't enough detail really to know anything about what it was. I guess another sci-fi entry into the Apple TV Plus lineup. J.J. Abrams came out with Sarah Bareilles, the singer-songwriter, and they're putting together a dramatic series about being a songwriter or being in a band or something. It's an interesting concept. I'll be interested, if not only to just watch to see how they get it right or wrong, because, most of the time, people get things like that completely wrong. And finally, there, big intro. This was the one more thing. Big intro, big everything, little slideshow that talks about somebody whose voice is important and we haven't heard it for a long time, blah, 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 blah. Oprah is coming. She's got a documentary coming as well as a multi-part series about mental health in the United States. Then she's also going to have like a TV version of Oprah's book club where she and an author or guests or whatever will sit down and talk about a book or books. That was basically the whole event. A lot of services, not many of them available now. Some of them sounding really cool and really useful. Some of them kind of a wait and see. In general, I mean, it's all about scale. If Apple can put the TV app together at the right scale where it brings in enough of everybody's services that people won't have the need to bounce back out and go to separate apps again, that will be really cool. Apple TV Plus sounds like a great idea. They've got some original stuff coming out. It's not, I repeat, it's not a streaming service like a Netflix or a Hulu where there's some original content and then also stuff that's been brought in from other outlets. It's just going to be original content based on what I saw today in this event. The Apple Card is an interesting idea. Goldman Sachs, I mean, but it could be a way to solve a lot of problems, like using a bunch of different cards over a bunch of different things. If you got the Apple Card, you can use the Apple Card, and then you can, sort of like an American Express, I guess, pay off everything, just use the one card, pay off everything at the end of the month. But I don't know if it's going to work that way or not. They didn't really get deep into it. The Apple News stuff sounds great. Bringing magazines in and throwing magazine publishers a lifeline to have a whole new audience, or to get back to the audience that they had previously before they stopped paying for physical media. All of it is good in theory, but what's unfortunate is they announced all this stuff and now we have to wait. We have to wait for nearly all of it to become available, and that's going to happen throughout the rest of the year. So this was an event where it's like, in some ways, much ado about nothing. It's like, here's the things we're going to do. We're not doing any of them yet. And that to me was a little frustrating, because when I hear about these cool things, I want to see how it's going to work. I want to see if it's actually going to be something that I want to integrate into my life, and I don't have that opportunity. I'm excited for the potential, but there's nothing really that I can say other than what they said. We'll just have to wait and see. Did you watch the Apple event? Is there anything particular about any of these new services that they announced that you are excited for? Do you think the whole thing was ridiculous? Do you think the whole thing sounds cool? Why or why not? Let's discuss down in the comments below. And again, if this was your first time here and you want to come back again, then you can like and subscribe and do all the things, bell notify yourself so you know when a new video is come out. And if you've been here before, thank you ever so much for being here. Once again, I don't know why you keep torturing yourself like this, but it's good to have you back. Thank you. Anyway, my name's Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out. Hey, you're still here and you haven't left yet, and maybe you want to watch another video. There are a couple of videos here that I suggest that maybe you want to check out. Also, hit me on the social medias over there, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'd love to have you back again sometime soon. Thank you so much for being here.